This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to The Great Love Debate, the world's #1 dating and relationship podcast. Since 2015, I know I always say that you should be time sensitive on these things and evergreen on the podcast. But as I record this, this is our first podcast of a new year, hopefully a good year. If you are listening to this in March of 2023, where you been? For the rest of you, welcome back. We are moving into our 9th year of the Great Love Debate, at least as far as our tour goes. 9 years. Supposed to do one show. 9 years. Sometimes you go out on a date and then you're married for 55 years. That's the way these things are supposed to work. So some of you have been with us from very early on. And to those of you, we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Some of you jumped on board a year or 3 years or 5 years ago. Again, thank you very much. Some of you went away for a little while, thought you didn't need us, felt like you had outgrown us, thought things were getting a little stale and you had a handle on things. To you folks, welcome back. I knew you'd be back. And some of you just found out about us yesterday or last week. And for those of you, welcome aboard. There is, as always, plenty of room in the pool. The water is warm. And both a blessing and a curse of having a still growing, thank you very much, and evolving podcast is that people come in at all times. And they want all kinds of content and they seek all kinds of answers to their questions. And to do a podcast like this, we have to try and keep it as fresh and original as possible time after time. And we have to sort of slice this apple as many different ways as possible. And we've done that over, 350 times now for this show. And that's not always easy to do, but, that's why we get paid the big bucks. So the reason I bring this up today is because when people first discover the Great Love Debate, or they reach out to us saying they're new listeners, the first question they always ask us, is which episode should I listen to? And that's like asking me to choose a favorite child. And that's usually how I answer that. So then they usually get a bit more specific after I ask them a little bit about themselves and they babble out some variation on, I'm newly divorced, single, mom of 3, like quirky guys. I'm an introvert and I don't know anything about dating apps. Can you help me? Blah, 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 blah. And first of all, we're here primarily, hopefully, to entertain you. Secondly, yeah, sure, we do want to help. And almost every episode we do hopefully has some nugget that will pertain to one or some or all of your issues and your concerns. But I'm not going to be dismissive. I do understand the question that people ask. You parachuting in, it's like coming into a new party or a new town and you want to know what's going on. So you come to Great Love Debateville and you want to know what the highlights are. You want to know the things you have to see. You want to know the people you have to meet. And for someone like me who was an English major and read the absolute bare minimum in college, do they still have Cliff Notes? They have some online version of Cliff Notes. Everything I read, every Shakespearean work had some Cliff Notes version, and that's what I did. So I get it. I get that you want to fast forward, get caught up, jump in here on all the things you feel you need to know. So today, out of the goodness of my heart, and to be charitable in this new year that we are diving into, I went back and cherry-picked 10 episodes that are not just essential, they're all essential. But the ones that cover a slice of the pie that most people will be interested in, especially you divorced people or somebody who's gotten out of a long-term relationship, because you're the ones who feel like you parachuted into the middle of a thick forest with no direction and no light to get out. I feel you, folks. Those are the ones that have the biggest challenges. So again, these are not necessarily my favorite episodes. I'm not even sure they're the best ones, but these are the ones you should be able to reference if you have a pressing question in a general category. My personal favorite ones are almost always the listener letter episodes, and the next one of this show will be a listener letter episode. So, because the listener letter episodes usually cover wide ground on a specific theme. So they're generally about something, but we manage to cover a lot of ground in those things. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck out of listener letter episodes. So these are the ones that I can say, check out that one. That has some good answers for what I assume are your questions. Got it? Does that make sense? Good. So this isn't really greatest hits. It's more like the most sampled tracks. So break out a pen because you're going to want to write some of these down. Sidebar, people also ask me, do you listen to all of your podcasts? My own. Do I listen to my podcast? No, I do not. I was there. I'm here, so I know what I said. But do I listen to some of them? I do. I definitely do. I'm not like one of those artists who can't see themselves on the big screen. They're like, I can't look at myself because I pick out all the flaws. I'm not one of those people. I look at, wow, that was really smart what we said. That was really funny. That was a good guest. I like that. You know, I'm not one of those people who can't hear their song on the radio and they quickly change it. I just don't listen to all of them because I host several podcasts and we produce hundreds of podcasts. So I just don't have the time for it. But I listen to things once in a while as a refresher on what we thought then and what we think now. And that goes for you guys too. If you have felt like you have listened to all of these, go back, pick ones, look in the topics, look at the descriptions and be like, you know what, I got to listen to that again because I forget what they said or how they said it, because I think a lot of these really do still hold up, which is shocking considering the events of the last 5 or 6 years and how the world has changed in 100 different ways. A lot of these really do sort of, I think, hold up because they have fundamental principles and tenets and beliefs behind them. And those have been fairly consistent for us the whole time. So do things evolve a little bit? They do, but I don't think they fundamentally change. So before I dive in here, honorable mention, the shows that we have done that they get the most buzz, the best and worst cities to date, which we do every year, those always have some relevance. So if you're thinking about moving somewhere, which you should always think about moving somewhere or moving away from somewhere, dig into some of those, because most of the cities, if they made a good list, they're still pretty good. Most of the cities, if they're on a bad list, they're still fucking terrible. Other than Atlanta. Atlanta was the one who used to be on the worst list many, many years of us doing this ago, and now they're a really great city. So props to Atlanta. They came up from the dark side, and they're over in a good spot right now. So, and special shout out for those of you who have discovered this in the last, I don't know, year or so, and then went back and listened to every episode. And I have met some of you because you've come to our shows. God bless you, and your current or future partner blesses you because you're full up on all the good tidbits. So we're going to go way back for the first one I'm going to mention here. And if somebody's like, where's the very first episode of the Great Love Debate? I don't know. Like the first 30 or 40 we did at the old, on Adam Carolla's network. Somehow those are, I don't know, lost to the interwebs because we switched around platforms a bunch of times. So the really, really old ones, I'm kind of glad that those aren't good because they weren't that good because I wasn't that good a host, and we tended to talk about things that were not terribly relevant. And I had like 5 co-hosts at a time, and Keiko, my producer, was always yelling to do it right. So I don't know where those are. Some of you might have them. I don't know. Maybe we'll go back and find those someday. But anyway, we're going to go way back to some of the early days for some of these. Some of these have old sponsor spots on them. So if there's a Blue Apron promo code and it doesn't work, sorry, can't help you. Might you have to sit through an extra, I don't know, ZipRecruiter ad read? Sorry, that's just the way it works. And especially the show dates. There's some show dates on there that are like, oh, coming up Houston. We're not going back to Houston. So, but the good thing about going back a few years is that this crazy stuff the last few years, I stand by it. The bad thing, maybe I peaked as a podcaster in 2018. We'll see. Second wind. So I want to kick this little list off with the one that we did that pretty much put this podcast on the map in terms of going viral and it getting picked up by a lot of other media outlets. A lot of magazines did stories on this. And that was Great Love Debate, GLD 133 and 134 in your hymn book. The very rare two-parter. There was so much to dig into that we had to split it up into two parts, and we called it the Dating Commandments. And these are the things that we laid out that we think are the fundamental tenets of dating, how to get in a good relationship, how to have the mindset to be in a healthy relationship, and they cover a lot of ground that if you stick to these commandments, I think you're going to be fine. I think you're going to be a good prospect to date. And I think you're going to be a good boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, husband, wife, whatever. I went back and listened to it. I can't believe that is 200 or so episodes ago. And we were fairly prescient in what we talked about, but they're good. I think you need to listen to them. I think if you listen to this podcast for a long time and you have not listened to them in a while, I think you need to go back and check them out. GLD 133 and 134, the Dating Commandments, Part 1 and Part 2. The next one that I think is sort of essential on your great love syllabus that we're laying out here, and this is the one we get a lot. Like I said at the top of the show, we do get a lot of people who either got out of long marriages or got out of long relationships, and they just felt like they parachuted into the middle of nowhere and have no idea where to go. Those are the people who approach me the most, and they're like, I just got divorced after 12 years and I have no idea what to do. And my friends are telling me what to do. I don't know what to do. So there's two of these here. Great Love Debate. GLD 136, which I called Living on Planet Single. I think Kim Seltzer was my guest on that one. I didn't scribble this. This is my own scribble that I can't read. GLD 136, Living on Planet Single. Kim Seltzer, who is a divorced woman, and she's also our lead love expert. So if you go to greatlovedebate.com and you see Chat with Kim on there, she is the one to talk to. She's the one who has the expertise on this stuff. She guested on this, the one I'm talking about now, and a few of these, so that bodes well for her. GLD 136, Living on Planet Single, and GLD 202, which was called Single Parent Summer Loving, which was an actual listener letter. It was a mailbag episode, but it specifically dealt with people who were divorced, people who had children, and people who were trying to date somebody who may or may not have had children, and how to navigate that minefield, which is its own particular thing. So that's a pretty wide slice of our listening audience, and I know that, divorced people and single parents. So those two, GLD 136 and GLD 202, I think those are sort of essential listening, and they're going to help you a lot as you navigate your way into the dating world. The next one that I picked is GLD 125. Again, that's about 200 episodes ago. It's called Train Your Men, and people freaked the fuck out that I called it that, and then we talked about that. But we're right, and we definitely stand by it. It's about how men are fundamentally capable of being everything you want them to be and everything you desire them to be. And here is how you go about accomplishing that. I heard again for the, 500th time the other day that there aren't enough good men and there's not enough good single men and blah, blah, blah. There are. And you're capable of adding to that pool by creating one if you do things in the right way. A lot of positive reinforcement, but we dive into that one on GLD 125 called Train Your Men. I think it's good. The next one, which is one of my favorites. I said that there's not necessarily a crossover between my favorite episodes and the ones that I'm giving you here today. This is definitely one. GLD 199. It is called The Art of the Dinner Date. Most first dates still are dinner dates. And I say unfortunately, because I'm always sure that is the best date, as we've talked about a bunch of times on this show. But GLD 199, if you're going to go down the dinner date road, and most of you are, it's just societally and culturally the way we handle these things. And again, don't do coffee dates. Stop it. The good thing about everybody getting kicked out of sitting around at Starbucks for the last year or two, or you couldn't hang around the coffee shop because of germy reasons, was that it killed the coffee dates. Good. Coffee dates suck. Anyway, GLD 199, The Art of the Dinner Date. And we talked about how if you're going to do this, this is the way to get the